Good day. This is my video presentation about contemporary policing model. What is contemporary policing model? There are features common to the work of police in different societies that are founded upon similar technology. Yet, within the same society, and at times within the same police force, there are variations in the policies of police executives. Thus, within the framework of policing activities, police work is divided into various branches, but for most of these is to serve and protect. All the essential elements of society is leo of the Latin maxim summum bonum. Police work is seen as a specialized career, and it's argued that the senior position should go to those who have learned the works by experience, education, and training. This poses certain problems in recruitment. It is argued that further that the police should be able to offer recruitment, selection, and appointment to the individual person as long as they have satisfactorily meet the general qualification as provided by the existing police law. The work of police is divided into different branches, the most important which is to serve and protect. Police work this presents some recruitment problems. It is further argued that the police should be able to offer recruitment, selection, and appointment to the individual person as long as they satisfy the general qualification provided by existing police law. Next is models of policing and people. Police authority comes from the people, from their law, and from their institution. Although the Philippines Constitution reserved police power to the state, the government must adhere to the fundamental law of the land. More particularly is provision of the Bill of Rights as well as the statutes enacted by the Congress. Police agencies are not only part of their local community, they are part of the state-led national government, which through legislation provided formal base of authority. Police authority, the government must abide by the basic law of the land, in particular in provision in the Bill of Rights as well as the law enacted by law and Congress. Priorities are often more thought of by people's desire to police than by any other consideration, since policing success depends largely on public support. The wishes and needs of the people must be taken into account. The police. The police are likewise a pillar of the criminal justice system, which, through the court, determines society's course in deterring lawbreakers and rehabilitating the criminal offenders. To a large extent, the goals and priorities of a police agencies are established by what the community wants. Priorities are often more influenced by the desire of the people being policed than by any other consideration because success of policing depends heavily on public supports. The citizen wants and need must be considered. Because the police are highly visible and representative of the local government. Police officers are on duty 24/7. People are often called upon them for services that they are not specifically required to perform. Because the police agency reaction to requests for help affect the amount of respect they receive and promote cooperative relationship with the public. They usually respond as helpful as possible. Next is traditional models of policing. There are 5 basic models of traditionally models. Number 1 is enforcing law. Enforcing law, the police not only decide what laws to enforce, but they also serve as integral part of the criminal justice system, in which are responsible for apprehending offenders and assisting in their prosecution. Enforcing law has been a prime goal of policing activities. However, this goal has become increasingly complex. Number 2 is preserving the peace. Preserving the peace, the police are often called on to intervene in non-criminal conduct, such as those that occur at public events and social relations and traffic control, and to maintain law and order. Preserving the peace has also been accepted by the police as an important goal. They have the legal authority to arrest individuals for disturbing the peace or for disorderly conduct. They often help people solve problems that the members of the society cannot cope up alone, including the provision of wide array of services for the good of the people. Number 3, preventing crimes. Crime prevention differs from peacekeeping and law enforcing is in that it attempts to eliminate potentially dangerous situations. It is proactive. It is undertaken by the police agency in working with juveniles, cooperating with probation and parole administration, and education, the public. Preventing crime prevention is closely related to the law enforcement and the peace prevention. If the peace has been kept, crime has in effect been prevented. Number 4, protecting rights and liberties. Protecting rights and liberties, the police must promote individual liberty, public safety, and social justice. Protecting rights and liberties of the people is perceived by some of us signal most important goal of policing and law enforcement activities. Protecting rights and liberties is the police are not only charged with enforcing law, preserving the peace and order, and preventing crimes. They are also expected to protect rights and liberties as specified by the Bill of Rights. 5. Providing other services. The police are often being called upon to provide additional services to their community. As society has become more complex, so are the types of services requested. Providing other services, many new demands are made including giving information, intervening in domestic disputes, rendering emergency or rescue services, controlling traffic and crowd, etc. In addition, many police agencies provide community education programs regarding crimes, drug reduction, public safety. There are additional contemporary models of policing. Number 1, partnership with the community is a cornerstone of policing activities. Police organization and officers may team up with citizens, business, private policing, enterprise, and other law enforcement agencies to achieve the objective of policing activities. The community is in compliant rule and shows support for law and order, and more active level which citizens step beyond their daily law-abiding lives and get directly involved in policing activities to enhance community safety. Problem-solving approach to crime. This approach of crime is an essential component of policing activities. It focuses on determining the underlying causes of problems, including crime, and identifying solutions to problems that has been identified. Problem-solving approach to crime and policing activities are equitable. It is defined as organizational-wide strategy aimed at solving persistent community problems and
Ikaw sugat, di mo intindihan.
incidents. We will now proceed on primary models of policing. primary models of policing the police agencies in the world vary greatly, from small informally organized agencies with few police officers to highly organized police agencies. Traditionally, most police agencies are structured using the pyramid model. There are also variations in goals and objectives. The variation of goals and objectives is: to properly serve the community, the police officer must be kept currently and completely informed. They must know where and how much of each type of crime occurs. They must know what services are needed. There are also variation in goals and objectives. One is administrative services are those functions that occur behind the scene, away from the front line of police officer in the field. These administrative services, to properly serve the community, the police officer must be kept currently and completely informed. They must know where and how much of each type of crime occurs. They must know what services are needed. Number 2 is operational services. Field services are performed by one functional unit, sometimes by a separate unit. They may be further specialized by the type of individual crimes involved, that as anti-vice, thief and robbery, anti-dangerous drug. There are 5 field services: patrol, traffic, investigation, community service, and specialized officer. Patrol. Patrol. Patrol, the police officers are assigned to patrol operation by providing continuous police service and visibility. Traffic. Traffic officers enforce traffic law, direct and control traffic, and provide emergency assistance. Investigation are carried out by patrol officers that investigations serve has the responsibility to conduct follow-up investigation. Community service. Specialized officers. Specialized police officers may include evidence, technician, intelligence, operation, K9 handlers, and SWAT team members, EOD teams, and etc. Perspective on models in policing. The 4 varied perspective on models in policing are: the legal perspective is an approach, the view of behavior from a rule-based philosophy. In that law is paramount and is the guide for behavior that everyone must follow. Number 2, the public policy perspective. Public policy, broadly defined, is made up of the rules and regulations that the legislative bodies and agencies choose to establish. Number 3, the system perspective. Law enforcement can also be viewed from the context of the system theory. System theory is more easily understood if one understands the concept of subsystem. Number 4, the global perspective is an extension of the system approach, is an addition to recognizing the immediate environmental influence. It gives significant recognition to world events and the international influence upon the agency. Now we are proceed on the legal perspective. The legal perspective, one common approach to policing is that the law is the law. Strong advocates of crime control and serve punishment for instruction often adopt this perspective. The public policy perspective. Policy is established in organizations such as law enforcement agency. Policy can also be made simply by consistently doing something in particularly way. The system perspective. This approach view the entire context of environment in which an issue exists by analyzing all the force or influence impacting on it. In other words, law enforcement or a particular agency is perceived by analyzing of all influence upon and from environment in which it operates. The global perspective is an extension of system approach. Variation of models in policing. Law enforcers focus on social order. Now we are proceed on the variation of models in policing. One is law enforcers. Law enforcers focus on social order and keeping society safe. Two, crime fighter are like law enforcers in that their primary goal is to keep society safe. 3. Social service agents. Agents are more accepting of the social service law and more attuned to the due process clause of the law. 4 is neighborhood watchdog, our own opposite end of the spectrum from the law enforcement. Law enforcers rather. Law enforce, enforce, Law enforcers are less concerned with individual rights and due process. Such police officers are often critical. They have little time of minor violation of law or for the social service aspect, seeing them as a waste of time and resources. Crime fighters. These police officers tend to deal with all the law and all offenders equally. The crime fighters are often relatively new, inexperienced, or unable to see the, the gray areas. Social service agents. Neighborhood watchdog. The neighborhood watchdogs may ignore common violations such as traffic offense and tolerance to certain amount of vice and gambling. Police officers' personalities. No individual group or groups of police officers are purely one type of another. Hence, the police officer personalities can be any one of the following. The police officer personalities. One is the stereotype, suspicious, cynical, brutal, indifferent, authoritarian, and bigot. Stereotype. The police officer being stereotyped as suspicious, cynical, indifferent, authoritarian, bigot, or brutal. Suspicious. Police work requires officers to be wary of people and situations that are out of the ordinary. The police officer develop perceptual weakness to identify certain kinds of people of potential assailants. Cynical because police officers deal with criminals. They are constantly on what against human fault. Police officers see people at their worst. They know that people lie, cheat, steal, torture, and kill. Brutal. Sometimes, reasonable force is required to subdue suspect. Unfortunately, the crime-related aspect of police officer job are what frequently draw public attention. In times, however, more force is used than is required, thereby crossing the line from reasonable force is used often that demand reduction public safety. Indifferent. When police officers are called to the scene of the crime, they are expected to conduct a thorough and impartial investigation. Their objective may be perceived by grooming relatives of the victim of indifference or coldness. Authoritarian. Effective law enforcement requires authority. Authoritarian comes with the job. Without authority and respect, police officers cannot effectively compel citizens to obey the law. Bigot. Police are frequently victims of problems they have nothing to do with and which they have no control. They are not to blame for the injustice suffered by others. Often, however, many people perceive the police as a symbol of society that have denied them their privilege and benefits. Significance models and policing. Community-oriented policing system, use of police technology, changes in organization structure, increased police accountabilities, police response to crime. Community-oriented policing system is a philosophy based on the premise that police stations work together with their communities to resolve not only crime but also quali- qua- but also quality of life issues that are important to the community and well-better. Number two is use to police technology. Today, police departments are using surveillance, cameras, gunshot detection system, automated license plate readers, facial recognition software, body cameras, drones, and numerous databases to prevent, respond, and investigate crimes. Changes in organization structure. Organizational change is the movement of an organization from one state of affairs to another. It may involve a change in a company's structures, strategy, policies, procedures, technology, or culture. Increase police accountabilities. Law enforcement agencies increase interest in accountability. Interest in police accountability on the part of police managers policy. Police response of the crime. Policing as social control. Law enforcement is a societal function necessary for internal stability and security. Through the process of law enforcement, society exercises of a form of social control of behavior, the deviance of others. Every society has a social control mechanism because they serve as means of socialization or the process or the or the process of teaching the culture and norms of the society to its member. Social control mechanisms are either formal or informal. Formal mechanism generally refer to the units of the governing authority of the country. Formal social control units in democratic societies include the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the structure at all levels of the government. Informal mechanisms include family, first religious organization, school, significant other, and so on. Social control mechanisms are not simple to classify. For example, where education should be placed. The educational process can be considered a formal control mechanism because it is often supported by government institutions. What a person learns in school, however, is not simply the formal curriculum but many other things as well, such as social skills, teamwork, manners, manners, custom, and etc. Thus, it is fit equally well as an informal mechanism. The social control mechanism of a society do not exist in a vacuum. Social, economic, and political influence have also impact on social control. This influence cause shift in attitudes and values over time. It in that they can cause a society to become more conservative or more liberal in its approach of controlling behavior.